I'm gonna try not to be too long-winded, but uh, Terrence Howard was just on the Joe Rogan experiment on Joe Rogan's podcast, where they talked for about 3 hours about his new. He's creating his own science, I guess. And what's interesting is that the one of the things that I've been working on, but I haven't actually finished for my 2 cent, is the my 2 cent ruler. I call it the my 2 cent number line, and it's basically a straight edge with units on it. And I also um, created or redefined the values of a circle so that they match the actual ruler. And the reason why I can't, if I was to go try to sell rulers to any institution or any academic structure right now, just as is, nobody would be interested in buying it. That's the reason why I have RunDay, right? So the reason why is because there's no need for a new ruler. We already have two. What do we need a third one for? But like Terrence Howard was pointing out with his 1 times 1 equals 2, the need to be able to have confidence in the proofs that are given to you is one that is inherently important enough that that's the foundation of the my 2 cent ruler. If you take, so every unit of measurement that we have on this planet have different values that we use. We have time, we use a different value. Distance, we have two, the metric and the standard. Celsius and Fahrenheit, two different ways of measuring temperature. Kelvin, the third type of measurement for temperature. So how does one conduct scientific experiments and have them peer reviewed by people that don't even share your values? If I'm conducting an experiment based on temperature, and I'm using Fahrenheit, and the person that's peer reviewing my stuff is disciplined in Celsius, how do I allow him to peer review me when we don't use the same measurements? The conversion from Fahrenheit to Celsius would create contradictory errors, right? And that's what Terrence Howard is saying he's found in math. One, I already did a video, but 1 times 1 is undefined, right? Because you can't, okay. The my 2 cent ruler uses base 10 math. The my 2 cent clock uses base 10 math. The my 2 cent calendar uses base 10 math. And the way that this basically works is, okay. Okay. So the Earth orbits the sun, right? The moon orbits the Earth. The Earth rotates, right? The Earth rotates around its axis. One rotation of the Earth, we define that as a day, right? The Earth orbits around the sun. The Earth is at a certain distance from the sun, and it travels around the sun in one period. It starts at a location, and it goes around the sun, one revolution, and returns to that same location. We call that an orbit. The rotation of the Earth gives us our value of a day. The path that the Earth travels around the sun gives us our value for 1 year. 1 year is exactly X number of rotations of the Earth around the sun, right? Our clocks have 12 units, but there's 24 hours in a day, right? What is the difference between, this is the unification of time, and the unification of the clock, the calendar, and the ruler became inherent for the my 2 cent system, my 2 cent standard, based on one fundamental observation that I made when I was trying to unify the measurement systems. What is the difference between a rotation and an orbit? There is no real difference if you think about it. Because when you look at an analog clock, I went and bought an analog clock because I wanted to try to understand what it was that I was saying. When you look at an analog clock, the minute hand is moving around the same number of degrees as the hour hand and the second hand. They're all moving the same number of degrees. They're just moving those degrees at a different rate of speed, right? So the same way that the Earth is rotating around its own axis at a certain fixed rate, the Earth is also orbiting the sun at a certain fixed rate. And if you draw a line from the sun to the Earth, now you have that clock hand moving at a fixed rate that's less than the fixed rate of the rotation of the Earth, right? So there's 360 degrees in a circle. And we use those values to give rise to the rest of the values that we express for measuring time. Our calendar has 12 months because there's 12 ticks on the clock, right? Well, why isn't there... I'm not gonna go down the rabbit hole. I'm gonna keep it concise. I changed from the 24-hour standard to the 10-hour standard for the clock. And I changed from the 12-hour month standard to the 10-hour month standard for the calendar. My reasoning is this. If the Earth is 10 degrees, right, because I changed or I'm in the process of changing the GPS from 90 degrees to 0.5 degrees, right? If there's 10 degrees on the clock, that equals our standardized 360 degrees, and the Earth rotates 10 degrees in one day, and there's a certain number of those degrees that it rotates that equals its rotation around around the sun, then the rotation around the sun should also be 10 degrees. So within all of that information, I derived the whole standard of there doesn't need to be anything extra. You don't need another decimal system. You don't need another place value system to describe everything. And this is what Terrence Howard is trying to... I am of the opinion that this is what Terrence Howard is trying to express, right? The values that we use to do the measurements you have to do things in the context of the written... The way something is expressed, the postulate has to be constant. When you do 1 times 1, it's undefined in the Michelson standard based on what Terrence Howard is explaining. But intuitively, the square root of 2 intuitively should be 1. Because a number times itself should equal that. The square root, to find the square root of a number, you have to times that number by itself. The square root of 9 is 3, because 3 times 3 is 9. But 3 times 2, which is the doubling of 3, is only 6. But the intuition comes from 2 times 2. 2 plus 2, 2 times 2, and 2 squared are all 4, right? So all of those are a doubling of the value of 2. But you don't double 1. Any value of 1 equals 1. And the reason why that is because of the distribution properties and all the other properties. All the other properties of mathematics, when applied to 1 inside of an expression or an equation, mucks up the equation, right? 1 plus 3 should equal 4. But 1 times 3 is the same as 1 times 1 plus 1 times 1 plus 1 times 1, right? So if each one of those equals 2, now you have 6. So the postulates themselves have to be correct. So what's supposed to happen is the square root of 2 is a value less than 1.4, right? Because 1 plus 1 equals 2. We know that. A number times itself has to equal 2. There is no whole number times itself that can equal 2. Since there is no whole number times itself that can equal 2, you have to use a fraction. I think it's an integer, but I gotta brush up on my terminology. But you have to use some decimal value times another decimal value that will give you 2. So what they did in the past to try to find out what this value was is they just multiplied the values and reduced it down. So if you do 1 times 1, you get 1. If you do 1 times 1.1, you get 1.111. And then once you get to 1.4, you get like 1.9 something, right? So the most logical conclusion is, okay, if 1 times 4 isn't gonna give me 2, then it has to be 1 times 5. But 1 times 5 is like 1 times 5 times 1 times 5 is like 2 point something. So now you're above 2. So the leap from 1.4 to 1.5 is a leap from when you times 1.4 and you times 1.5, you go from a value less than 2 to a value greater than 2 within one place value. So then you say, okay, 0.14, now you need another number to get you as close to 2 as you possibly can, and because you're multiplying this number by itself. So you multiply 0.14. When you multiply 0.141 times 0.141, you still get a value less than 2. And every time you multiply 0.0145, you get a value greater than 1, but less than that value greater than 2. You have to do the math, because I'm not going to remember all this information on top of my head. I can write it down, but I'm trying to run. So this is where the conundrum for Terrence Howard came in. What he discovered on the calculator was timesing the 2 and cubing the 2 gives you a long number of variables that look exactly the same. But if you put the information in ChatGPT and let ChatGPT work it out to like 30 or 40 decimals beyond, 30 or 40 numbers beyond the 0, you find that it doesn't repeat. You find that the values actually start to increase and decrease according to the operations beyond a certain threshold. And the reason for that is because his logical fallacy is in the statement that the square root of 2 is a rational number. The square root of 2 is not a rational number. The square root of 2 is an irrational number. And the most famous irrational number is pi. Because there are values which do not approach a number rounded down. There are values that the operations are infinite. There is no absolute number. You get an infinite repeating pattern that cannot be described. We call those irrational numbers. And then a number, the square root of 2 is an irrational number. 2 times 2 should be equal to the square root of 2, but it is not. And that is a mathematical proof that frustrates the hell out of mathematicians, because it muckles up and contradicts the foundation of all mathematics. My 2 cents simplifies that by just saying that 1 times 1 is undefined. We can't define it because it's an infinity. It's defined if you're an artificial intelligence and you can work the shit out to 100 orders of magnitude beyond 1. If you do math beyond a certain threshold based on limitation of humanity, there is no contradiction. There is no confusion. There is no confusion. The confusion that Terrence Howard shows on the internet when it comes to the expression that he gave you, that proof, put it in ChatGPT. Work it out beyond the threshold of limitations of the characters that can be described in your calculator, and there is no confusion. The confusion lies in the finiteness of our ability to interpret numbers, and in the fact that the foundation of our science is based on alphanumeric. The values are told to us and not expressed to us in a way that we can understand them. Children are not given the postulates in elementary school. We're told this is true. We're given the postulates later in life in high school. If we were given the postulates in elementary school, then we would understand what's going on by the time we get to college. But we're not. We're told 1 + 1 = 2. We're not given the expression. Because if you give a child the expression that 2 times 2 is equal to the square root of 2, that those two, look, 3 times 3 is 9. And the square root of 3 is also 9, right? But that's not fundamentally true for every last value of math. The same way that the rules of English are not absolutely universally true. Sometimes there's other contradictions that makes it harder for us to understand how to communicate universally. Because the goal of academics is universal communication. It's not about making you feel good or showing that you're superior. It's about me coming to the store and saying, you know what? Here's a perfect example. This guy came to McDonald's the other day and he couldn't speak English. He frustrated my life. It irritates me when people can't speak English and they come into the store and they expect me to reduce myself as a person that's supposed to be making money for this company to assisting them. But the vast majority of African Americans that are raised in this country, have educations and diplomas in this country, are treated like shit because we speak a dialect of English. I'm not fucking dumb because I speak a dialect of English, because this person can come into this store that doesn't even speak English, and then I have to interpret for him, and then he gives me European dollar bills. No one's telling him to go learn English, but you're mad at me because you got to spend a little bit more energy to understand what I'm saying when I was taught incorrectly in the academic system that I was raised in. And we know this to be true because there's all the controversy about the educational system in America. It's not like it's something that is being made up, right? So to make the point that I was trying to make, when he came in and he was like, I don't speak English. He opened Google Translate. I don't speak English. I want to buy food. I walked him over to the kiosk and I started pushing the buttons. I stopped talking to him and I started pushing the buttons. And then he was able to interpret, oh, I don't have to understand the English. All I have to do is push the image of what I want, right? Push the image of what I want. And then when I'm done, I can just go up to the counter and give him money. And that's what he did. And when he came to the counter to give me money, I gave him his change, right? The academics standard is for him to understand how much money he has without his ability to read or write English at a literal level. I'm not saying he's illiterate. I don't know how competent he is in his own native language. I'm saying that if you come into my store and you can't communicate with me, you're illiterate, right? So the academics tell you that 1 + 1 = 2 so that you will be literate and competent in a society. That's the only goal of the high school, of our educational system. Our education system is only designed to discipline you to work within the limitations of the standards of society. And if you deviate from those standards in society once you become an adult, they put you in prison. It's real simple. They created a perfectly simple, perfectly elegant system, right? So within that dynamic is what we're addressing when we talk about the values of the world, the values that have been given to us in academics. And we have full reign and full right to challenge them. But if every teacher has a different teaching style, then every student is going to have a different interpretation of the values. And if everybody has a different interpretation and have an emotional attachment to these values, then we're going to always argue and contradict each other when we're having a discourse, which is what we see every freaking day. That's why somebody like Terrence Howard can come online and communicate a fundamentally flawed position and be listened to, but academic scholar that has been in school for 20 or 30 years will still argue and debate with his own peers when he brings something that is new and enlightening. Because you can't even be an academic scholar, you can't even be a mathematician and contradict the math, right? Like, even in that, there's an issue. So if you can't even be an academic scholar and contradict the math in of itself, then what is the goal in our society when it comes to coming to a universal standard or a universal truth? There is no goal. There is no universal standard. There is no universal truth. It's just, like I said, you go to school to learn how to function in society and be civilized. And then in that, you are going to have to define for yourself how you're going to operate without going to prison. And it shouldn't be that difficult, right? It shouldn't be that difficult. You should be able to just function you should be able to be a good, honest, decent person and function at that level without having to defend yourself against lies and deceptions and dishonesty. And your inability to be dishonest deceptive, corrupt, shouldn't be a deficiency that puts you in the same category with the very people that you don't even recognize or operate with, right? Like, why is it that I can't walk down the street without having to defend the fact that I'm doing something that isn't illegal? Why do I have to show proof that when someone lies on me that I'm not the problem? Like, I don't understand why that is a thing. Why is it so easy for honest people to be judged harshly and incorrectly, while dishonest people are able to fabricate lies and say what you want to hear, and then you just believe them? You know, like, he's got the knife behind his back, but he's telling you he didn't do it, and he's giving you all the validation and justifications for why he didn't do it. And you're like, okay, I understand. And I have the answer. The answer is simple. Everybody has done something and done something they weren't supposed to and gotten away with it. And everybody has done something that they're supposed to do and has been punished as if they didn't do the right thing. So when you know that there is no way to prove that you're innocent, and there is no way for anyone to prove that you're guilty, the child in you, the adolescence in you, will always default to, I'm going to do what I want and hope that I can get away with it. Especially when you live in a society that says, no matter what you do, God will always forgive you. This person that looks like this white dude with this blonde hair and his blue eyes has your back. Then you're always going to push the boundaries of the limitations of a society, because your humanity has no limitations. There's nothing limiting you from doing what you want in this world. It's just a universally understood constitutional agreement between all of us that allows us to function at the competent level. You know, the ability for us to be a society and do things. If you want to build a road, there has to be cooperation. If you want to build a house, there has to be cooperation. If you want to come home and find your children still in the living room where you left them, when they're surrounded by other members of your society, there has to be cooperation. And that is the conflict. And we want to keep deviating from that for our own personal gain, and then get offended when the deviation works against us negatively. And then you're like, I don't understand why you don't want to support me in the fact that I'm being treated like shit. Well, when I was being treated like shit, you didn't fucking care. So now that you're being treated like shit, why should I care? Because we live in a civilized society. Well, we can't live in a civilized society when it only benefits you. The very definition of a civilized society is that it should benefit somebody else. So your capacity to make sure that that person is getting what they should have is supposed to be reciprocal. And if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do as a citizen to make sure you're okay, when it's your turn to do what you're supposed to do as a citizen to make sure that I'm okay, that's reciprocity. And that's just the way life's supposed to work. But that's not how life works, because institutional racism has put in place actual legal structures that make it impossible for police officers to do their job right. Because when you're sitting in an actual briefing and they're telling you that statistically the African American is guilty, when you're driving down the street in your patrol car and there's a Caucasian male and an African American male in front of you, statistically you should get behind the African American, because he's probably the one that's going to break the law. And at my level, as a civilian African American driving down the street in my car, I understand that, so I'm more prone to not break the law, while the Caucasian is drinking and has an loaded weapon in his car and is probably driving down the street at 35 miles an hour after beating his wife, because he knows statistically the police are not going to harass him. So he's going to do more dirt and get away with more dirt because he's not under the same unnecessary scrutiny that the non-whites are. So that's just the way the society is functioning and operating. And if you are an African-American cop and you are out there unbiasedly doing your job right, then you got your boss telling you to chill the fuck out. Quit harassing all these Caucasians. Quit pulling over all these Caucasians all the time, because it's racism. Like, what do you mean? Sir, I pulled over 50 Caucasians and I pulled over 50 African Americans. How is that racism? Because statistically, you should be pulling over more African Americans than you should be pulling over Caucasians. How else are we going to have 25% of the prison population be blacks? If you don't be in compliance with the fact that we're supposed to harass them unnecessarily more, then you're gonna create the conditions where it's gonna become obvious that it's screwed, that these values are not correct, that they're operations of something greater. And that's the reason why I created the My 2 Cent ruler and the My 2 Cent calendar. And the reason why I'm running every 3 days is because the My 2 Cent system is based on a 1-year calendar. And how do I sell you a 1-year calendar if I didn't even use it myself? I'm sorry, how do I sell you a 10-month calendar if I'm not using it myself? That's why the actual titles are what they are. RunDay such and such, month what such and such, such and such. They're screwed because of my wife, and I'm not getting into that, trying to distract me to keep me in compliance with a broken ass system. Why are you saying that it's 1 month in a year? I don't understand why there's 10 months in a year. Well, there's 10 months in a year because if you change the 360 degrees in a circle to 10 degrees, then this is what's going to happen. Well, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to make sense. Who says there's 360 degrees in a circle? Who said it? How did they come up with the proof? How did they prove that a circle has 360 degrees in it? They didn't. They just said this is a good value to assign to a circle so that we could do math. But why is the degrees in a circle 360 degrees? The numbers on the clock are 12, but there's 24 hours in the day. The metric and the standard. The difference between the metric and the standard is the metric uses whole numbers and the standard American system uses irrational numbers. The ruler is not based on numbers, it's based on fractions. That's the difference. Like, everybody tries to figure out why there's a different standard. That's why. The ruler is based on halves, quarters, eighths, sixteenths, 30 seconds. That's why we don't say 30 seconds of an inch. We say 30 seconds, eighths. You know what an eighth is. The fact that drugs are weighed out and measured by units of decimals, but distributed amongst each other in fractions, shows you why there's a standard system. Because it's more intuitive. An eighth is more intuitive to a person's mind than its fractional value, right? And that's what the My 2 Cent system does. It unifies. It takes the standard is 4 centimeters because it needs to be functional, right? Well, Paul, if you're going to just use if you're going to use the if you're just going to use the metric system, well, what is the point in even creating another standard? You could just use the metric system because it's unified. So 4 inches is 1 unit, and 1 unit is divided into, 4 centimeters is 1 unit at the smallest scale, which is our scale, the mundane scale. And those 4 centimeters are divided into 10 units. So that gives you your fractional values. And since that 1 unit is equal to 4, it can be divided into quarters, halves, thirds evenly. And it won't create any contradiction. So when you have 100 of those units that are all based on the unit value of 4, you can still divide the 10 of them into 2.5, and then that still will still evenly fractional down to something smaller, smaller, smaller. Because guess what? You can't measure irrational numbers, and that's the reason why the standard system exists. So unifying the standard system with the metric system gives you a better unit of measurement for us non-academics. You know what? I'm not gonna say non-academic. I'm gonna say for us actual scholars. Because sometimes you want to understand something for yourself. Sometimes it's better to understand something at your own level for your own reasons, and you don't have to justify anything other than that, you know. That's it. I could rant and ramble and rave all freaking day, but it's time to just go ahead and get this run on. So, as always, my name is Paul Emerson, and I've given you my 2 cents. I don't want to stop oh shoot. How am I going to? Most of us have things we can't live without. Most of us. Believe it or not, everyone has been here.
Hey, baby.
Morning.
Lap 1. Lap pace 9 minutes 59 seconds. 1 mile. Heart rate 160.
Du hast mich. Du hast mich. Du hast mich geflogen. Du hast mich geflogen. Du hast mich geflogen. Und der Torso ist trying to see how can it harm. Nein. Nein. The sureste Torosai trying I feel it starting. Nein. Nein. Du hast mich. Du hast mich. Du hast mich. Du hast mich. Du hast mich geflogen. Du hast mich geflogen. Du hast mich geflogen. No need of it. Excuse me. Morning. warning sign. Oh, the dark, solid night, head dark, night, close your eyes and see all the colors in the sky. Walking into the night, earth is shaking, and I see a light, the light is lighting my eye, and all will be us alive. A run is both feet off the ground. As long as both your feet leave the ground, you're running. Your life's not a marathon, so do it at your own pace.
Lap 2. Lap pace 10 minutes 47 seconds. Total 21 minutes 5 seconds. 2 miles. Heart rate 167.
crazier. Excuse me.
My brother.
Yep.
Halfway point reached.
that things are deep inside you. I don't feel the monster. That is right. I will drag your empire down and say it's away. All is all for nothing. And this here, Atlantic dark, contemplate this bad thing is so bad, bad so bad. To have a frozen heart inside my chest that only beats and doesn't feel. Inside the room I'm closing in, I cannot see a door. I have a sparkle of light. I cannot see anymore. I wonder, is it all my fault? Is it because of me? Is it because I never cared enough? And now I pay for this. Cause I need their money, then I'm on it. Honey money, honey money, honey money. Cause I need it money, then I'm on it. Honey money, honey money. Cause I need it money. Need it money, then I'm on it. Honey money, honey money, honey money. Cause I need it money, then I'm on it. Honey money, honey money, love, honey money, love. can't help it. I'm breaking down. Save me from myself. I used to say, I know I finished
Lap 3.
rolling
Lap pace
and
17 minutes 9
feel
seconds.
this pressure
Total 38 minutes 10 seconds.
pushing from
3
the
miles.
inside
Heart
out.
rate
I
166.
lost my nerve. My mind is racing. It's all I can say. Burning in my darkest thoughts again. So I keep asking myself, will I be strong enough to face this race? Still here, begging for help. We're only humans walking through this hell. Save me from myself. I used to say, I'm breaking down. I'm cursed and hopeless and held in despair. I don't know how to find a way to release myself. I'm going crazy. I'm so again now. Nothing is like it used to be. So I keep asking myself, will I be strong enough to face this hell? Begging for help. The sun is my friend and my enemy. It's the shadow of my past. Look in a mirror and I hate what I see. I don't recognize my face anymore and realize well, my dreams have gone, feeling lost and empty. I know I can't turn back time. I just don't want to give up. I can't give up. Save me from myself. I used to say, I'm breaking down. So I keep asking myself, will I be strong enough to face this race? Still here, begging for help. Will I be human walk through this hell? Victoriero coro Pedro Titani Pedro Titani Pedro Bravo Victoriero coro Pedro Titani Bravo Victoriero coro Pedro Titani the truth is all done. the truth. I move you like a stone. Outside the north south. I wish that I was so far from it, but now I think we need to talk. It's right to talk crazy. It's good to see it so late. I will destroy my own life to consume your soul, and I want to see your world and pain. Here I come. It's only another love to sign in my heart, and it's all to blame. Here I come. That's the second time she's tried to call me to come to work, and I had the crew yelling at me. I had customers calling the police on me. I had to cut the police out for coming up there disrespecting me as a shift manager, telling me that I'm the problem because the crew are telling me what I'm gonna fucking do when they don't even want to listen to me. Now that store is running like shit, and she wants to call me to come help them so that they can continue to stand around and do fucking nothing, right? I'm gonna come up there. Your crew is gonna walk all over me, do whatever the fuck they want to do, tell me that I don't have any authority, so I can make time so you, in a position higher than me, can take credit for all of the numbers and all the statistics, while simultaneously everybody looks at me like I'm the fucking problem. I ain't got time for that. Hey, can you come in from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m.? No, I can't come in because I'm getting my shit together like my wife told me to. It's all here I come. Well, then it will never be the same.
security help you get every border right. Swift, big in restaurants.
You're the reason I'm feeling so deranged. I will stay here and haunt you forever. Home and staring into the night. If I don't have the silent darkness, you'll be compromised. So stay calm. You will find with me again without morning. Without morning. Ride with my words. I need to cool down. Crash on my words. Hi, the thing of fear locked inside of my faith. You will go capture my tongue. You're the feeling I'm feeling so deranged. I will stay here and haunt you forever. Always staring into the night. If I don't have the silent darkness, you'll be compromised. But stay calm. You will find with me again without morning. Morning. Told you to leave me alone. I told you to leave me alone. I told you to leave me alone. I told you to leave me alone. Take my soul. Down. You will find me there again without morning. Without morning. Stay calm. You will find with me again without warning. Without warning. With my word. Crash on my world. My body is overheating. The sun is kicking my butt. So I have to not be a heat casualty, as they would say in the military. But my goal is not to walk and run, is to run 4 miles. So the moment I start walking, I fail my own challenge. Nobody can take what you're doing for yourself away from you if you set your own goals, have your own standard, measure yourself with an objectively true value. That is the foundation, my 2 cents. And the horizon will watch the hours go by, fall, and then the right again. I'll hear the darkness and the horizon We'll watch the hours go by, fall, and then arise again. I'll hear the spring song.
Almost there. You can do it.
Oh, down. Tears come down. Let them fade away. Let them fall.
Lap 4. Lap pace 16 minutes 43 seconds. Total 55 minutes 2 seconds. 4 miles. Heart rate 166. Workout